Welcome to the Papa Report. I'm Rebecca Powers. So happy to be with you this week. Here with John Papa, the creator, founder of DPS Advisors. Great to see you, John.
Great to see you, Rebecca. How are you?
Doing great. So I want to just first say, if our friends at home have not seen you or heard you yet on the radio, they can join you each week on 970 AM, The Answer. But you also have this amazing book that you wrote with your late father. Let's talk about your dad and how you started in this business.
Yeah, started in this business about 36 years ago. I can't believe time flies, right, when you're having fun. So I learned from him in an early age about the value of money. We didn't come from a rich family and 6 people in a 1-bathroom house, and he would give my brother Michael a dollar for lunch, and I have to meet him in the hallway and get the change so I can buy lunch that day. So I always learned. My father instilled in us, money, you respect money. It's hard to come by, and you got to really look out for it. So I was always interested in finance, and I went to school. And when I came out, I said, you know what, Dad, I'm going to jump in. Let's get to work work. And that's what we did.
Third generation, your son Luke. And
third generation, yeah. My son Luke just graduated from college, and now he's coming into the business. He's studying for Series 65. So we're excited about that. So hopefully my dad realizes what he's created and it's still going on. So
absolutely,
we're excited.
And for people who come in to meet you, I know they're going to see Susan at the front when you first come in, and it's a very relaxed setting, no pressure. But let's talk about where your office is and how someone at home can get your wonderful book.
Right. So
awesome.
Yeah, we're right in Caldwell, right on Bloomfield Avenue, the main street in Caldwell, right near the Caldwell Diner. Our office is easily located. You can just come on in. Susie will greet you. She offers you a cup of coffee, snack, water, whatever you want. We have a stress-free environment. We're trying to build retirement plans for people to have a stress-free retirement. That's like our motto. Let's build a stress-free retirement for you, okay? Because that's what you want to have. You want to be stress-free. You don't want to be worrying about, inflation, things we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely.
Inflation, Social Security income, taxes, all that stuff, market volatility, stress-free retirement. So you come on into the office, relaxed atmosphere. You don't even have to bring statements the first time.
Oh, good.
Just introduce yourself to us. We'll introduce ourselves to you, and we'll see where we can help you out, if we can help you out. So we'll just start the process nice and easy and stress-free.
And the first meeting is complimentary. There's
always
no
complimentary,
obligation.
no obligation, complimentary, no cost.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your book before we get into the story of the day, which of course is inflation, how it is affecting every single one of us. Avoiding the retirement traps. I've seen a lot of books on retirement, and I've never seen one that talks about the traps, because that's exactly what happens to people, because we don't know.
Yeah, exactly, Rebecca. I wrote this book based off of hundreds, if not 1,000, of client interviews with people, from first meetings to all the way through to planning sessions to taking them on as clients. What are the mistakes that we're seeing in pretty much all of the clients that come see us? So we said, you know what, why don't we write a book about it? And I started writing one day. It's not an Amazon bestseller list, but I wrote a.
No, it's a simple read, though.
Simple
it's good,
read.
easy to understand.
I wrote every word in it, and it's just talking about the mistakes that we've seen clients are making in their plans to get to retirement and while they're in retirement. So it's a pretty cool read. And
I know you have a very open door policy. What are some of the biggest concern of your clients right now? Is it inflation?
Well, that's a big topic that we're hearing right now, Rebecca. I mean, inflation, is running, they're saying it's running at 9.1%. Really? Mm-hmm. Is that really 9.1%? I don't know.
Feels worse.
I went to look for a new car last week, and I was looking at a Jeep Rubicon, and the price of it was $95,000.
Amazing.
Like $95,000 for a Jeep.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So, and then, and going out for dinner. I went out for dinner with my wife, last week to a steakhouse. I paid $52 for a filet mignon. That's ridiculous. The prices are way too high. It's way crazy out there. They're saying this inflation is 9.1, but that's not counting what we actually do. We go out to eat, we drive cars, we pay for gas. They're all up double digits.
Right.
I tried to book a flight from Newark to Miami. It was $500. 6 months ago, it was $200 to go to Newark to Miami. So, and the inflation level that they give us is nowhere near what the real inflation rate is, Rebecca. And I'm thinking it's more in the double-digit range.
That's how it feels, 20, 30%.
And what that means to us is, we really have to see a client's income strategy. What are you doing to pay for all these higher costs? What plans do you have set up for inflation?
Yeah, so when do you think someone should really get serious about thinking about retirement? 5 years before 62 or?
Well, people build for retirement throughout their whole working career. That's one thing we talk about, not to jump topics, but
Yeah.
if you're going to start maxing out your 401k when you're 35 years old, and we'll have that in another segment, you're going to factor in the taxes you're going to pay when you do withdrawals on that 401k later on. So we think planning for retirement starts as soon as you get into the workforce. And what's the best strategies to have in place, now? To me, it's more of put money into a 401k that I get a match on, and then put the rest of the money in a tax-free environment in a Roth, either Roth 401k or a Roth IRA, because taxes are going to be going up. I mean, we're going to have a whole nother segment and show about taxes.
Yeah.
So planning for retirement, yeah, when you're 5 years out, you should really start fine-tuning your plan, but you need to build this plan from the get-go.
But so many of us are the lay people, not the professionals at it. We've just kind of been with our heads down working and building and hopefully getting all this money into our 401k,
Right.
but we were never educated about this. So
Right.
what do you tell people when they first walk in? It's just kind of a lot of little pieces and I'm going to start looking for your income, or how does it start?
No. They come in and it's like, how you doing? What's going on? What did we say on our TV show? What did we say in our radio show or our seminars, our lunch and learns that we do? What did we say that prompted you to want to come in? What's affecting you in your retirement life?
Nice.
Or if you're not even retired, what concerns do you have? And let's address them. We introduce them to our report called the Diversified Planning Strategies Report, the DPS report for short, and it gives the client answers to all these questions that they have to see if their plan's going to work or not. So we start out with, it's a blank piece of paper. I work off of a notepad, not a laptop computer. We work off of a notepad.
You're old school.
Old school, pen and paper, calculator, and say, hey, what's going on in your life? Let's talk about what's going on. And then we'll see what do you have in place? And we'll let you know, as a fiduciary, we'll let you know if that's good or not, what are the pros and cons of what you have. And then we'll show you some options if there are any options out there. Sometimes plans are great. And as a fiduciary, you have to let them know that. Plans are good. You're in a good spot.
Great.
Keep this in place. Let's take a look at what your income, whatever your other needs are. We'll take a look at them and move forward.
And you could tweak a little here and there.
Tweak a little here and there. It's not one size fits all for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's the difference between you being an independent, I believe, John,
Right.
compared to a big box.
Right.
You're not going to cookie cut these
No.
people. You're not one of A, B, C, or D.
No,
Everyone is
Rebecca.
independent. Let's talk about that.
I use the analogy of Home Depot all the time. I'm as a fiduciary, I'm Home Depot. I have access to every financial tool available. So if you're going to use one of the other big box firm people and you need to say, for example, you want to buy a hammer, okay, to hang a picture on your wall, that big box firm person is going to sell you a hammer out of their big little box firm basket, and that's a suitable recommendation. As a fiduciary, I have to ask you a ton of other questions. Hey, do you have any health conditions? Do you have any shoulder surgeries? Let's go to aisle 5. I got 37 different hammers. Let's find the one that fits you.
You don't have to just
You
sell
don't have,
products
right? You don't
from
have to
whatever
sell
company you
products
work
from
for.
whatever company you're working with. We're in
all
Home
around.
Depot. We're going down whatever aisle fits your situation. What's the problem we're trying to address? And we also tell people, don't have any preconceived notions about any investment products.
Yeah.
Any investment products, stock, bond, mutual fund, annuities, CDs, money market accounts, every one of them has a pro and has a con. And my job as your fiduciary advisor is to go over each one of them with you and pick the tool that's going to fit the job we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's what a fiduciary does.
Yeah. So let's take a quick break. There's a number 844-534-4452. John, if you would just tell them what they can expect when they call.
Yeah, Rebecca, for the first 15 callers, they're going to get an introduction to our Diversified Planning Strategies report. It's a DPS report for short. It's a 5-point review on all the things that could affect your retirement, whether it's inflationary issues, market volatility, a risk assessment, taxes on qualified plans. That's a huge topic that we talk with the clients. So all you need to do to get your Diversified Planning Strategies report is dial 844-534-4452 and talk to somebody on our team. We'll get you a date on the calendar, and we can start the process of getting your report.
That's right. It's no obligation, no pressure at all. Have your calendar ready, though, so we can definitely reserve you one of those spots to get in and meet John and his wonderful team. Stay with us more on how you can retire in the very best way possible right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to the Papa Report. John, we were just talking about inflation and how it's so much worse than we realized. And when you get this individual report for your clients, we look at inflation, you look at inflation, how it affects them personally, not just in general. Tell me about the 3 investment worlds. This is something I've never heard any other financial person
it's kind of unique.
About.
I kind of coined it myself, like I did with the cover of my book, Avoiding the Retirement Traps. I actually made that name. I'm pretty proud of myself about that.
It really is, because it does feel like traps. We don't know.
They really are. The 3 investment world strategy really focuses on when a client's worried about risk, how much risk they're taking in their portfolio, right? Most people think a 60-40 mix and a balanced portfolio is safe.
Right.
And in the past, it was kind of safe, but in reality, it's not. What that means is having stocks, bonds, and mutual funds in a 60-40 mix means all their money is in the Wall Street world. So we define all the products and tools in that world. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, REITs, variable annuities, options trading, all different kinds of investments, okay? But everything in that world involves some sort of risk, whether it's market risk, inflation risk, interest rate risk, it's all risk, right? So when we look at times like today, people are using this 60-40 balanced portfolio, thinking they have 40% of their portfolio in bonds and that they're gonna be protected. Well, that's not true. If you look at the bond market now this year, the bonds are down 10 to 15%. Because why? We're in a rising interest rate environment. The Federal Reserve is raising interest rates to try and curb inflation, which they should be doing, right? But that is crushing the bond market. So in a person's 60-40 balanced portfolio, they're down 20% this year, year to date. They never thought that was going to happen, okay? So we introduced the 3 investment worlds. Listen, you should have your money split in a truly diversified portfolio. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds is not a truly diversified portfolio. Have some money in the bank. That's for an emergency fund, okay? We're not building wealth with that money. Keep it there for if you need a new air conditioner, you need repair on your car. It's emergency fund. Then we use the middle world with insurance companies. Again, going back to our conversation about using all the financial tools in the toolbox. What financial tools could we use for protection of your asset, get a little better growth than what the banks are giving you, but it's protected. It's not affected by the markets going up and down.
And I'm sorry, what are examples of insurance? Because I kind of got lost on that.
So in the insurance companies, they offered fixed annuities, they offered deferred annuities. So you're in the annuity world, okay? And in that world, your asset's protected. It can never go down. Okay, unless you take withdrawals. It can never go down because of the markets. So what we do with a client is we'll put out our little 3 investment world discussion and say, how much money do we have to work with? Let's carve out enough to go into each of those 3 worlds. So that if we put, for example, $1 million and we split it up and there's 300 and something thousand into each world. Well, not like 50,000 in the bank, 400,000 in the insurance world, and probably 500 and something thousand in Wall Street for growth. We know that a good, almost half of your money can't go down in times like today. So you're not going to panic. You're not going to make emergency decisions or crazy decisions because what's going on in the markets. No knee-jerk reactions. The Wall Street world is for growth. You know that's going to go up and down. So if you need to take distributions for an RMD, and I'll give you an example about that in a second. If you need to take distributions from an RMD, it comes out of the safe money. not when the market's going down. Because we had a couple come in the other day and they had $1 million on December 31st, and their 401k was now an IRA, okay? They just turned 72. The husband turned 72. He has to take an RMD out this year. December 31st, his balance was $1 million. Today, his balance is $750,000 because that 60-40 portfolio is down almost 20%, a little more than 20%. His required minimum distribution is $40,000 that he has to take out of that account. So now in 6 months, his $1 million went down to $750, and he withdrew $40,000 for his RMD, which he's required to.
Right.
He can't avoid it.
And that's at 72, no matter what.
That's at 72. That's when that starts. And we'll talk about that, those rules as well. But he, at 72, he has to take that money out. There's no getting around it. So now in 6 months, his account went from $1 million to $710.
Wow.
That's 1 year. That's year one.
And at that age, there's no way.
There's no time for recovery.
That's right.
And you're taking money out. There's not going to be money left to regrow back. It's totally different when you're planning for retirement than you are when you're in retirement.
So what is something they could have done if they had met you sooner, for instance? What would you have done to kind of protect them from that happening?
Well, that's great. Go right back to our 3 investment world discussion. I'm going to protect a good portion of your assets so we know that almost half of the money, $500,000 of the $1 million, is not going up and down the stock market. And if we have to do a required minimum distribution of $40,000, I'm going to take that from the protected world. So I'll take the money from the protected world so that I know my investment world money will be there to grow back when the markets do turn around. And they always do turn around.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the money from the protected world. So they're in a much better situation. Again, going back to using annuities, using the tools.
A lot of people don't realize it's an insurance. I didn't realize.
They hate annuities. It's got a bad word.
Why does it have a bad connotation?
Because the fees of a variable annuity are somewhere between 3 and 5% per year. It depends on what product you're using and what company they're with. The fees in a variable annuity make it probably the worst investment ever created, and I have no problem saying that.
Okay.
I avoid them at all costs. I get people out of them if they have them because they're just getting crushed. The insurance company's making money. The mutual funds inside the annuity are making money. Everybody but the client. So we avoid them. So when we talk about insurance company products, we're using fixed, guaranteed products that don't go down, that don't have any fees. That's the stuff that we're using. So when we split that money up for the client, like this couple, we split it up. So next year's RMD is going to come out of the protected world if the markets are down. But if the markets are up next year, we don't know. Then I'll go into the Wall Street world for the distribution because they're back up. So it depends. We'll every year decide which way we're going to go.
So some people say, we're not in a recession. We are in a recession. It depends on which network, I guess, that you're watching, if you're in a recession or not. But some people like you say, recession is actually a time that you can make money. There's an opportunity there too.
Yeah, that depends on your time frame, Rebecca. If you have a longer time frame to go, we were talking before about having 5 years to go before retirement. Yeah, this is a great buying opportunity. You have some money in cash inside that Wall Street world, and you can buy, companies on discounts right now. Companies that are not going away. Apple, they've dipped way down, so you're buying them on sale. It's a great opportunity for that. But again, it all depends on where you are in your life. If you're in retirement, taking distributions, then I'm not so sure being that aggressive is the way I would go. It really depends.
Yeah, they need to meet you and really look at their individual situation. So let's give you the number 844-534-4452. And we just have a certain amount of slots that we save each week for our TV and radio shows to make sure that you can get in. So if you call that number, please have your calendar ready so we can reserve you a spot. Tell them what they can expect.
Rebecca, for the first 15 callers, we're going to give you an introduction to the Diversified Planning Strategies Report, the DPS report. It's a 5-point review of your current situation. It'll give you a review on risk analysis, market volatility, income gap, if there's income gaps, taxes on qualified plans. It's going to go over everything that affects you in your retirement life. All you need to do, again, is dial 844-534-4452. Get a date on the calendar. Our team is ready, and we'll be able to get you on your way to getting a DPS report so that you can live a stress-free retirement, because that's really what we all want, a stress-free retirement.
Absolutely. You deserve it. You've worked a long time for this. So stay with us more with John Papa right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to the Papa Report. We were talking about inflation and some of the traps of retirement, and Avoiding the Retirement Traps is this wonderful book that John Papa wrote with his father, Michael, before he passed away. So it's very, very special. And we want to share this book with everyone. And really, your wonderful information on the radio and on television has saved and helped thousands of seniors retire in a very, very personal way. Let's talk about the personal service and how you want to know everything about someone to plan their retirement.
Right, because Rebecca, you can't plan or help somebody if you don't know anything about them, right? So that's why we encourage the first meeting, just come on in, don't bring anything. I want to get to know a lot about you. I want you to get to know a lot about me, a lot about Susie in my office, Debbie and Luke when he starts meeting with clients. We need to know what's going on in your life, the ins and outs of what's going on. Like, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you want to do? Do you want to travel in retirement? Do you want to go see your grandkids? Do you want to play sporting events, whatever? Is that what you want to do? Or are you the person that wants to sit around and watch the stock market? Some people like doing that stuff. So it really depends on the person.
Talk about stress.
Well, there are people that like to watch CNBC and all the shows and watch the financial shows, you know?
Watch it,
So we need to know that, because then it'll help us getting to know their behaviors so that we can make recommendations that we think will be perfect for them.
And I'll tell you, my son has Down syndrome, and when we were with our big box for many, many years and switched to the independent, I don't think they even knew that I had a child with special needs.
Right.
And that is something in independent, that is very important if you, in legacy planning or whatever.
Right.
There are so many things. Do you find with your clients there are things that are completely missed that are a very big part?
Right, because you don't know. I mean, we're talking about inflation a lot today because it's a really hot topic going on today. I can't tell you how many people come into our office and we talk about their plan, and inflation is not even mentioned in it. In fact, we had a couple come in a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, hey, we want you to take a second opinion look at our stuff, okay? I'm like, what are you concerned about? We don't know if we're gonna run out of money. Our money's in the market. We don't know what's going on in our portfolio. We haven't talked to our advisor in about a year.
Yeah,
so
typical.
I said, yeah, typical. So the first thing I asked them, we're looking at their expenses, right? So we went over what their expenses were, and then we talked about where's their guaranteed income right now? What do you have? They had a small little pension, some Social Security, a nice Social Security check, but it was just enough to cover basic needs. So I said, well, how are you factoring in inflation? They looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, inflation, it says it's 9.1%, but in reality, we talked about it before, you look at cars and food, and it's more than probably high double digits, 10 to 20% range. So they had no plan. Their plan didn't account for inflation. So I showed them, that if your expenses rise at this 9.1% inflationary rate every year, you're going to have to double your expenses every 8 years. So if you're spending $60,000 in expenses, 8 years from now, that's going to be $160,000.
And that's so scary for someone who's
especially 70. And they're like, what are you talking about? And their plan, they were in their low 60s. By 80, they were out of money.
Wow.
They had no money left. So they're like, well, what do? We go back to we need to create more income a little bit later on. Right now, your pension and Social Security is taking care of it. We go back to the toolbox, right? What tool works that'll give you a guaranteed income 5, 6, 7 years from now when you need to turn it on when the expenses are going crazy high? Well, we go back to the annuity world. I know it has bad connotations, but in this instance, in a deferred annuity, you can put a little bit of money away today, let it grow while your expenses are good, and then when you need it, kick in an income stream and get a third guaranteed paycheck. And that's the kind of planning that we do. And they walked out of our office, they were like, thank God we met you.
I was just going to say, I bet they wish they had come sooner.
I hear that all the time. I wish I would have met you sooner. So, well, we work when we work,
And another thing, I know you do a very detailed plan. Can you imagine going on a trip without your GPS or without a plan or without a map or building a house without a blueprint? I mean, it is so important that you get this plan, that you see it in writing. Do you find when people come in and you say, hey, let me see your plan, and they just give you a statement?
There is none. Everybody gives you a statement.
Yeah,
oh, here,
statement's not a plan.
I have some money at this big box firm. I have some money at this big box firm. Oh, I left some money in an old 401k. I'm like, okay, that's great. Those are your assets.
Right.
What's your plan?
Right.
Well, that is our plan. Like, no, that's not really a plan.
And again, don't feel bad at home. We're all the same way. We were not taught this in school.
That's why we wrote the book, Rebecca. That's why I wrote the book. It's, these are the mistakes that we're seeing daily from clients, just in client interviews.
And it says the 7 financial mistakes that retirees make with their money. We're almost out of time, only about 2 minutes left. Let's go through those 7 just quickly in a minute, and then give that phone number one more time, John.
Yeah, well, the first thing is using market investments in the Wall Street world as your investment plan. That's mistake number 1. Not factoring in inflation, mistake number 2. Have you ever calculated the taxes you're going to pay on your 401ks and IRAs? Mistake number 3. Long-term care planning. Do you have a long-term care plan in place in the event of one of you needing to go to a nursing home or assisted living place? Okay. And then I think the next one is legacy planning. Not everyone's going to spend their money to zero. I know we all talk about it, like, hey, when I die, I want to die with 0. That very rarely happens. It's almost impossible for that to happen. So legacy doesn't mean you have, $20 million and where's it going? It means what's your plan to give whatever you have left to people. So that's what we go over.
I hate to cut you off, but we're already out of time.
Yeah, no, we're good. It's so exciting. It's so fun.
I know. And you can always join us every week. We hope to see you again next week. 20 seconds. Tell them the number one more time. Invite them in again.
844-534-4452. Get your copy of the DPS report. We're going to give you an analysis of all your stuff. Make sure you're on the right track to get a stress-free retirement. Dial the number.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, John. And thank you at home for joining us. See you next time.